They shot to kill. They killed my brother.
Geraldine Tedtaotao is the sister of 42-year-old Xavier Tedtaotao. She and her family remain in distraught since the evening of November 3rd, 2020. The night officers shot off 45 bullets at Xavier and his now deceased wife, Vicky Ann Regis. Over the weekend, the AG's office and the GPD announced that their investigations have concluded, with the grand jury returning a no true bill and the 4 officers involved cleared from any criminal charges.
We're still very hurt. And that news came and hit hard, just as it hit hard when we found out that my brother was shot and killed by police officers the night that it happened.
GPD Chief Stephen Ignacio went through a sequence of events that occurred the evening of Tedtaotao's death. Officers responded to a theft of a cell phone complaint at an apartment complex in Tamuning, in which Tedtaotao and Regis were seen allegedly in a stolen vehicle.
This time, 3 of the 4 police officers discharged their firearms at the suspect. Despite discharging their firearms, he continued to refuse to stop the car or surrender. He tried to reverse the Lancer, but the Lancer was stuck to the patrol car. The suspect then accelerated forward, and another officer discharged his firearm at the suspect. Finally, after the suspect stopped revving the Lancer and it stopped, the 4 police officers moved in and found that the suspect and the female in the car sustained injuries. They immediately called for medical help, which arrived on scene and transported both.
According to Xavier's mother, Carol Tedtaotao, this information is incorrect.
How can that be justified? The chief's statements, I don't know where that came from. I don't know who did their investigation, how they did their investigation. Sloppy and not right.
Carol shares that Vicky Ann Regis suffered from about 10 gunshot wounds, and she was hospitalized for months after the incident. It was learned that Regis passed away over the course of this investigation, in which the family believes was related to the shooting.
She never stopped bleeding out. She did share with me that she had begged them to stop shooting. She put the car in park and shut it off. The way they reported it, the car going back and forth, my son going back and forth, that was not true. I don't know where they got their information from. That's not true. She watched my son die right in front of her.
And this isn't the only thing she says GPD was not truthful about.
We weren't contacted by authorities the night my brother was killed. I was on the phone making calls to GPD to try to find out where my brother was. He wasn't transported to GMH right away. He was kept there at the scene until wee hours in the morning the next day.
The OAG characterized the disarming as an excessive amount of shots fired, as one of the officers shot 31 out of the 45 bullets.
It's wrong. That amount of force of fire, I truly believe was unnecessary. My brother was unarmed. His wife was unarmed. Mm-hmm. They're going to use the car as a weapon, to give my brother a chance to step out of the vehicle. There's other ways that they could have disarmed that vehicle. If they say that my brother was continuously reversing and going forward, there's other ways they could have disarmed that vehicle. They could have shot at the tires. And that is one training I know that officers are trained to do. She put it in park and she turned off the car and had her hands up in the air while she was in the car screaming, "Stop shooting, stop shooting." They weren't armed.
Tedtaotao's family says they reached out several times to GPD and were completely left in the dark. To this day, their questions remain unanswered.
They couldn't answer any of our questions because of the investigation. We were denied. My mom was denied to identify my brother's body. We want to know who identified his body when this happened.
Xavier and Vicky Ann share a son together and are parents to more children of their own who will now have to grow up without a mother and father.
There will be justice. Mm-hmm. It may be the end for them, but this is just the beginning for us, for justice for both of them.
The Guam Police Department maintains that the administrative investigation was conducted with the Guam Customs and Quarantine. Chief Ignacio said the findings of the joint investigation involved the collection, review, and analysis of all available evidence, which included police reports, forensic reports, witness interviews of people at the scene and the surrounding neighborhood, as well as interviews with the 4 officers involved. He added the police officers were faced with a suspect with a 3,000-plus weapon, which was the vehicle. Quote, they discharged deadly force in response to the deadly force used against them and seized the deadly force when the threat against them had stopped, unquote. All 4 officers are back on the job.
Despite discharging their firearms,